Okay. This video, I'm going to be going over the Pythagorean Theorem. Okay, so the Pythagorean Theorem, here's the formula. It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, now this theorem works only for right triangles. Okay, so here's a right triangle. Here's a 90-degree angle. Now, the side that's opposite the 90-degree angle, which is this side, now that's C, that's called the hypotenuse, and that's always going to be the longest side of a right triangle. And then you've got A and then B, which are adjacent to this right angle. The way I was taught when I was younger was that A was always the shorter side and was the shortest side, and then B was the second shortest, or you could even say the second longest. But it really doesn't matter as long as you know that the longest side is C, which is the hypotenuse, and that it's opposite, like I said earlier, opposite the right angle. Okay. So let's look at the first example. The first example says that the length of one side of a right triangle is 24 centimeters. The length of the hypotenuse is 25 centimeters. Write and solve an equation to find the unknown side. Okay. Now, okay, so the length of one side of a right triangle is 24 centimeters. Okay. The length of the hypotenuse is 25 centimeters. Okay, so the hypotenuse we know is 25 centimeters. Okay, now here's the hypotenuse because it's opposite of the right angle. Okay, and the first sentence said that one of the sides is 24 centimeters. Okay, it could be either this one, either this side or this side, doesn't matter. Okay, so 24 centimeters. Okay, and then this side, we can make it either A or B. I'm just going to make it A. Okay, so let's go and use our Pythagorean Theorem formula to figure out this side. Okay, so here's our formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So if you plug it in, do we have an A? No, we don't. That's what we're trying to find. That's the side we're trying to find. So A squared plus, and then B, here's B. So 24 squared equals C squared. So that's 25 squared. Okay. Let's clean that up a little bit. Okay. Now, we're going to solve what we can. So 24 squared, so that's 24 times 24. Okay. That gives us 4 times 24 equals 576. Okay, and then 25 squared, that is 625. Okay, now we're going to bring down that A squared and the plus sign. Okay, now we got to get A by itself, so we got to get rid of that, the exponent, and the 576. But who do we get rid of first? We get rid of the 576. So let's subtract that on both sides. Okay, so now we're left with A squared equals, let's see what it equals. So 625 minus 576, okay, that's 49. Okay, and now we want to solve for A, so to get rid of that exponent, we have to square root both sides, and now we're left with A equals square root of 49 is 7. But remember, we want to put that unit in there, and our units is centimeters. So the length of that side was 7 centimeters. Okay. All right. Now, like I said earlier, the Pythagorean theorem only works for a right triangle. So let's say you're given 3 lengths of sides of a right triangle. Okay, and or what could be a right triangle. We don't know. But it's of a triangle, okay? And let's say one of the sides is 5 units, another one is 12 units, and another one, or the last one's 13 units. Okay, so we have to figure out if it's a right triangle. So if we plug it in, we plug in A, B, and C, we should have equal, the left side of the equation should equal the right side of the equation. Okay, so what do we plug in for A? What do we plug in for B? What do we plug in for C? Well, it's obvious what we plug in for C, because remember, C is the longest side of the right triangle. It's the hypotenuse. So that means that C is obviously 13 in this case. So let's plug it in, 13 squared. Okay, now remember, A and B, it doesn't really matter, but what we have left now are 5 and 12. So maybe we can make this 5 squared, and then we can plug in 12 for B, so that'll be 12 squared. Okay, all right, so now let's see, does this side, the left side of the equation, equal the right side of the equation? Okay, so 25 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144. Okay, and 13 squared, I don't know that from the top of my head, so let me use a calculator, is 169. Okay, so 25 plus 144, that equals 169. Okay, so 169 equals 169. Yep, so we do know that this triangle is in fact a right triangle. Okay, now let's do another one like that. Okay, so we've got 12, 18, and 22. Okay, here's our Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, what can we plug in? Well, we can definitely plug in 22, since that's the longest side. We can plug that in for C, so 22 squared, and then I'm just going to plug 12 in for A, and then 18 in for B. Okay, 12 squared is 144. 18 squared, let's see, what is that? 18 times 18, we have 324, and then 22 squared is 484. Okay, let's see if that left side of the equation, let's see if it equals the right side. Okay, 144 plus 324, that's 468. Okay, and over here we have 484. They do not equal each other, so we do know that this is not a right triangle.